I'm going to tell you about the one thing that you need to do if you've got funds on FTX, or if you've even ever had funds on FTX. And this goes for any other exchange that you have fear of collapsing. No one seems to be talking about this, and that's why I'm making this video. Hello everyone, my name is Ethan Rooshock, and the crypto world is in a bit of trouble at the moment. I mean, I'm sure it will bounce back. It's gone through some definitely challenges in the past. But FTX is collapsing. It's pretty much collapsed. No one is likely to get funds out, unfortunately. You can read a lot of articles about it. It's a pretty complex situation how we've got to this stage. But the reality is they were, I think, the second largest exchange in the world. So for a second largest exchange to collapse and potentially everyone to lose all of their funds on there is a pretty serious thing. And this is having flow-on effects to other exchanges. So, the other branches of FTX. So for instance, there was an FTX Australia. So it's flowing onto them. And then that's on flowing to other exchanges. So here in Australia, a place like Digital Surge has put halt on withdrawals and deposits because they were caught up with FTX Australia. Now, we're not sure how that's all going to play out. They may be able to still recover some funds, etc. But it is having ramifications right across the globe. And my concern is people are talking about what to do. So the reality is it's unlikely that you'll be able to recover your funds. I've just said that. Don't get fooled by anyone that says, hey, I can get your funds off there. The chances of that happening isn't going to happen from some random person. The only way it will happen if as they go through the bankruptcy proceedings, etc., there may be some kind of payout based on how much funds are available, etc. Wait and see from official channels, but this is going to take a long time to unfold, I see. The other thing people are talking about is, moving your funds. So what can you do to secure funds? Well, is holding your funds on an exchange really the smartest thing? People have always talked about it, not your keys, not your crypto. So understand that and understand what that means. Hot wallets, cold wallets. You need to have an understanding of that so that you can mitigate risk of this ever happening to you again in the future. A lot of people are talking about that, so go and have a look at that, but pretty much look at what funds you're holding in other exchanges that you can access and consider should you be moving them to a cold wallet or a hot wallet. So, go buy yourself a ledger, move your funds there, secure it yourself, and that way you know that you can't collapse. You're in charge of it, so the responsibility goes on to you, but this type of situation would not affect you if you held your funds in a hot or cold wallet, besides the impact it's having on the actual market. But the thing I want to talk to you about today that no one else seems to be talking about is securing your records. And what I mean by this is taking copies of all your transaction history from an exchange that's either collapsing or you're worried about collapsing, or maybe just in general on a regular basis, so that you have a complete history of it. And this will become key when you're going to do your tax return. Now, I'm going to talk more from an Australian point of view here, but this will probably apply to anyone across the globe, no matter where you're watching, is take copies of your records. No matter if you have funds currently or have previously had funds, you want to have some kind of transaction history so you can actually see what you've done across that exchange. Because I've had clients come to me in the past that are trying to recreate their records for tax purposes and they can't access an exchange, or the exchange has gone bankrupt and you can no longer access it. So you can't get those records, and it makes record keeping a real nightmare. So what I would suggest to anyone that's got funds on FTX or any other exchange, go in there and take a CSV file. So go in there and get a CSV file of all your transaction history. And this is important even if you're using, say, a crypto software such as Crypto Tax Calculator. You can go and check out my review on that. I highly recommend them. They might have a API link to an exchange. Now that's all well and good why that API link is working, but if that API link goes down, suddenly you lose that transaction history potentially. So we're not sure how those things are going to work if an exchange goes down. So the safest option is go and pull a CSV file out of your exchange, and that way you've got a record yourself. So the next question leads into, well, what happens to your funds on the exchange if the exchange goes bankrupt? No, you don't get a single dollar. How does that work from a tax point of view? So I'll talk about this from an Australian point of view, but the basics are you're going to be able to claim that as a loss. So it will be based on your cost price, not the market value in most situations if you're a regular investor. So say we had a $500 investment into Bitcoin on FTX, and it may be worth $600, it may be worth $300, however much it's worth now at the time. That's irrelevant, but what's going to happen is that $500, we can write that off because we can't access it anymore. It's gone. Now, we will need to wait till we see something in stone that says, hey, you're not getting these funds. That will be your proof if you got an audit, for instance. But that $500 is going to be acted like it was disposed of for zero. So you have a $500 capital loss in that situation. And this is why having those records is really important. By having the records, you can easily show, hey, yes, I did have this on that exchange at that time. Here's my cost price because I bought it 3 years ago for this amount, for this much in Australian dollars. You've got all the records to back that up. Whereas if you don't have that, it becomes a lot harder to prove that. How are you going to prove that, hey, this is what I did? And that's why I'm saying, even if you've ever had funds on an exchange, it's a good idea to go in and pull that CSV out. So that's my biggest thing that no one seems to be talking about. Get your records. Secure your records is just as important as securing your crypto, because you don't want to be paying tax on something that you shouldn't have to be paying tax on. I really hope that video has been helpful. I've got heaps of other videos about crypto tax topics, so make sure you've hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and go and check some of them out. I'll talk to you again on the next one.